Daily News for 6 years, lived my whole life in New York City before I came here in 2013. That'll explain the topic of my dissertation. And I'm talking about how you can use social media for your own research, specifically historical research. That's my background, mass communication history. That's where I've done a lot of research, especially when I'm doing recent history. So when you have historical subjects where the people are still alive, or where maybe people who were somehow related to an event are actually active on social media but nowhere else. There's nowhere else to find them. And so I'll give you a few examples of how all of these different social media platforms have helped me. In order to do that, I need to first just introduce you to my topic, to show you how I used it personally with my dissertation. So I grew up in New York as a fan of this hockey team, the New York Islanders. And they were really bad when I was a kid. They won all of these Stanley Cups, all these championships right before I was born, like literally up until the year before I was born, and then went on this dramatic slide that has continued my whole existence. So in the mid-1990s, the Islanders were using this logo. This is their classic original logo from 1972, and you can see it has a map of Long Island in the background. It's pretty simple. It just has the Y is a hockey stick, and you get the idea of the puck and all of that. But in 1995, they felt our brand is kind of weak. We need to do something. Change actually goes into marketing. And they needed to do something they could re-energize the fan base with. They decided they're going to try to appeal more to the Long Islanders and the difference between what a Long Island identity in New York versus a Manhattan identity of the rival team, the Rangers. So they thought that this guy, a fisherman, would represent more of that seafaring maritime culture of Long Island. It was a disaster. Many people immediately compared this logo to the Gortons Fisherman, frozen seafood, if you've ever seen that. Some people say, if you look at the Simpsons Fisherman, the guy who always says "yar" in the Simpsons episodes, he looks exactly like that. Actually, if you look at Gortons, his hands are in the exact same position as he is on the ship in Gortons, and it was awfully done. So I consider it one of the worst sports branding decisions of all time, and that was the focus of my dissertation. So how can I kind of lend some credence to this idea that it was the worst, and what kind of lessons were learned from it and the significance of this project to history. It's from 1995, and they wore it until 1997, so it's recent history. And a lot of people actually would say it's not history, according to some historians. You know, if something happened in my lifetime, how could it possibly be history, right? I'm not that old. So that was one of my challenges, that most of the people who were still associated with the logo, they're alive, so they didn't leave anything to an archive yet. In 1995, they weren't really writing letters the way if you were researching George Washington, but they also didn't really have emails that they have easily accessible. So kind of the problem that I was tackling is, how do you make up for the lack of primary documents and resources? So just to give you some other ideas about this brand that they did. In addition to having that logo, they had this mascot named Niles. Photos of him are very elusive online. And you can see, though, he has the fisherman logo, and he's supposed to look like this guy. He had this light on the top of his head that flashed whenever the Islanders scored a goal, meaning it didn't flash very often, because they were pretty pathetic. So he was another element of their brand. This is the jersey as it looked completely. So in addition to the fisherman on the top, they had this wave that they said was supposed to be like an ocean wave at the bottom, and a lighthouse logo that was on each shoulder. All right, so it looks very putrid, like 90s fashion, the worst thing you would expect from that era. And my former employer, the New York Daily News, covered the logo like this, saying it would be seasick in 1995. So I did have some kind of traditional sources for my dissertation, newspaper coverage, microfilm, and things like that. But I was struggling to find a lot of other things that just weren't readily available. So one of the things I did was turn to Twitter. When I was a reporter in New York, I covered not the Islanders specifically as a beat, but I did some stories related to the Islanders, and I had a lot of Islanders fans that followed me. So I figured they might have been fans during this period, right? It's not that long ago. We're talking less than 20 years to 1997. So I just put out a tweet with the hashtag for the team, which is Isles, and asked if any of my followers or anybody out there might have programs from that period, because I couldn't find them through the library. I think I maybe even asked Jessica at one point, can you help me? And they just don't exist anywhere. So I used these two hashtags, Isles and NYI. I also mentioned this one Twitter account, Islander Mania, that retweets all different Islanders fans, and is kind of a clearinghouse for Islander stuff. So sure enough, you can see that they retweeted it. So now it went out to like thousands and thousands of hockey fans, and there's just one reply down there, someone saying, sure, I have some of these programs if you want to look at them. And there's nowhere else I would be able to get them, and they have great information from that period. So you can see they sent me programs like this. I actually had 3 different people send me a total of like 50 programs to Athens, and then scan them in at Alden and save them and sent them back.